it felt like there was this unspoken rule that being a parent didn't mean that you had to stop being the kind of person that you used to be. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Madinat Mom Podcast. I'm Nour, your host, and today's episode is just you and I, and we're going to talk about 5 things that I'm quitting as a mom this year. And this is really coming as a result of a personal reflection that I did when my daughter turned 3 earlier this year. I sat down with myself, I went through a personal audit, and I thought about things that were working for me and things that I realized were just overwhelming me, were adding to my stress, were adding to my plate, weren't really working for me. And so I feel like I need to make a change there. This also comes at a really good time because baby number 2 is on his way. And I really wanted to see, now that my plate is just going to get fuller, what are some of the things that I want to carry forward as a mom? And what are some of the things that I'm going to quit? And that's what motherhood really is, isn't it? It's about a personal reflection. It's about really getting to know yourself in ways that you never would have imagined. And it's about constant evaluation of what is working and what is not. And as your kids get older, you will probably realize that your parenting style will need to adapt and adjust to the changes that your kid is going through. And so, of course, a baby needs some kind of attention that's different than a toddler, different than a preschooler, different than a teenager, and the list goes on. And so this is just a process that I would recommend you do on a regular basis, of just doing that personal audit, sitting with yourself, going through the kind of parent that you've been these past couple of years and the kind of parent that you want to continue to be, because it is a learning process. It's a journey, right? And so we're always going to be able to say, these years have taught me that this is something that I can give up on, or these years have taught me that this is something that I can work on and I want to continue doing as a mom. So here we are today, and we're going to talk about 5 things that I realized I need to quit as a mom. So this year, my daughter turned 3. And I'm not going to say I just blinked and here we are. I didn't just blink. I cried, I fought, I struggled my way through those sleepless nights. I felt emotions that were so deep that I didn't even recognize myself. These past 3 years were very humbling, to say the least. And sure, time is definitely a thief. And in many ways, I look at my daughter and I wonder, where did that little newborn baby go? The baby I got home from the hospital, all swaddled up, all wrinkly, is now a toddler with her own emotions and her own character. And yes, where did that baby go? But the past 3 years were not easy. It wasn't just a blink. They were raw, they were challenging, they taught me so many lessons about myself that I didn't even know I needed to learn. And they changed me as a person. And so now, as we've just settled into our routine as a family of 3, I got pregnant again. And so we're getting ready to go into that newborn bubble. And this time, everything feels a little bit different, right? I'm not a first-time mom anymore. I have some experience in my pockets, but at the same time, I am going through many new experiences. This is the first time that I'm becoming a second-time mom. This is the first time that I'm going to have to learn how to navigate having a newborn at home with having a toddler at home. This is the first time that I will be raising a baby boy after having a baby girl. And as my husband's schedule is getting busier, he's traveling more for work, I am having to learn how to adjust to all of the changes in our household. And so in many ways, it is all new. But there is one thing that, unlike last time, I think has me better prepared for this experience. And it's not that I've already been a mom before. I've had the chance to stop and reflect on the kind of mother that I've been and the kind of mother that I want to continue to be. My daughter turning 3 and this little baby on the way has given me an opportunity to reassess what's working and what's no longer working. Because if there's anything that I learned in motherhood, it's that flexibility is key. You have to be flexible. You have to adapt with the changes that every single day brings. And what worked a few years back for me doesn't have to work for me now, and that is okay, right? Flexibility is very important, and being adaptive to the changes that life brings your way, that your kids bring your way, is one of the key factors of motherhood. And so in this episode, I'm going to share those 5 things that I'm quitting. 5 things that no longer make sense for me, for my family, or for the version of motherhood that I want to embrace. And things that I thought made sense, or things that fit the kind of person that I used to be. But as I've said, motherhood has changed me. It's very normal. And so they no longer make sense to keep. Let's dive in. Number 1 is overcommitting and the pressure of keeping up with a certain lifestyle. When we had our daughter, our friends didn't have kids yet. And so overnight, there was like this shift. It was like a split in our lives. They were still living the way that we used to live, right? Making last minute plans, going out to 10 p.m. dinners, going out on the weekends. And honestly, that was who we were too for a very long time before we had our daughter. But of course, needless to say that when we had our baby, it was a lifestyle that we couldn't keep up. But that made us feel a certain way. It made us feel like we were failing, like we were giving up ourselves. We didn't quite understand at the time that that was a version of ourselves that we used to be, but it wasn't the version of ourselves that we were becoming. And so we felt like we needed to be able to keep up with the people that we used to be before we became parents. We felt like just because we became parents, it doesn't mean that there are certain things that we wouldn't be able to do. But of course, that's unrealistic. It's unrealistic to think that way. It felt like there was this unspoken rule that being a parent didn't mean that you had to stop being the kind of person that you used to be, that you should be able to manage everything. That is what society tells us. That is the biggest misconception that we believe, which is that if we try hard enough, we could do it all. If we try hard enough, we could do parenthood, we could do social lives, we could do personal goals, we could do work, we could do self-care. We could do it all just if we try hard enough. But the reality, I was exhausted. I felt like I was stretching myself thin, trying to say yes to things that I could no longer keep up with and to things that no longer made sense for me and for my lifestyle. But you know what? I was holding on to that person that I used to be. I was holding on to the lifestyle that I used to have because I didn't want to feel like I was losing myself in the process of becoming a mother. And so when I tried to hold on to everything, to balance everything, I felt like I was failing, not only at parenthood, but also at keeping up with that version of myself that I used to be. It was a lot of pressure. And it took me a long time to accept that my lifestyle had changed, that I had changed, that that version of myself was no longer there. It took me a long time to actually be okay with that. And so once I let go of that pressure, I felt so much lighter. I felt like there was a weight that was on my shoulders and was suddenly lifted. I started to become more intentional with my time and with my energy, and I stopped trying to squeeze things into my time that no longer made sense to me. And instead, I started to build a life that aligned with the season that I was in. I had to accept that I was in a very specific season. Having a newborn, you will probably dedicate the majority of your time to this little human being, if not all your time. We have very little space left for ourselves. That was the season that I was in. And so I started to dedicate my time to focusing on one thing only, rather than trying to balance everything. Saying no actually stopped feeling like a loss. For a very long time, it felt like we were failing. It felt like we were losing. But there was a point where saying no stopped feeling like a loss. And it started feeling like I was being more intentional. And the truth is, as a mom, your time is sacred and your time is very, very important. And being intentional with that time that you do have is also very important in how you end up feeling. I don't have to be everything for everyone. I felt for a very long time like I needed to be the perfect mother, but I also needed to continue to be that friend that I used to be. And I also needed to continue to be the person that liked to go out for self-care. And I also needed to continue to be this and that part of my life. But I realized at one point that I didn't need to be everything for everyone. I don't have to say yes just because that is who I used to be, or just to prove that I haven't changed. I have changed. And that's okay. I mean, how can I not? So one of the main things that I'm quitting is overcommitting. And I'm not just talking about overcommitting, with friends outings, but I'm also talking about everything in general that just no longer makes sense to keep up, no longer makes sense to dedicate my time to. As a mom, your time becomes so much more complex, right? And you are already divided in a million different directions. And being more intentional with your time can be very important. So I challenge you to be more intentional with your time. I challenge you to dedicate your time to things that make you happy, to things that you need, not to things that you think you should be doing. When you start making that shift, you will feel like a big load is off of your shoulders. And so, number one is, let's stop that overcommitment to things that no longer fit in the season that we are in right now. Number two is falling for that comparison trap. I know you've been there. We've all been there. I'm not judging. We all scroll through social media and compare ourselves to the mom that has ready-made meals for her kids all day, every day, or to the mom that wakes up before her kids in order to work out and then is showered and ready by the time her kids are up, or to the mom that has her house looking a certain way at all times. We've all been there, right? And if it's not comparing yourself to the moms on social media, it's comparing yourselves to the moms around you. And the thing is that we're so emotionally attached as a mom. There is so much involved. The stakes are high. You're raising a human being. You're taking care of an individual, right? And so with so much involved, we're going to look around. We're going to wonder, what does best actually mean? What kind of lifestyle should I be giving my kids? What kind of childhood should I be giving my kids? Looking for that best, childhood and lifestyle, we are going to fall into comparing what we are doing with what other moms are doing. And sometimes we forget that no one really has it all together. That is the secret. It's reminding ourselves that not one mom out there really has it all figured out. We're all learning as we go. We're all figuring things out as we go. And just like everything else in life, we have our strengths and we have our areas of improvement. And so one mom's strength might be something that I am working on, while one of my strengths might be something that another mom is working on. And so as a first-time mom, I found myself falling into that comparison trap time and time again. I couldn't help myself. I didn't know any better. But the thing about comparison is that it eats away at your confidence. And confidence as a new mom is something that is already very, very low. You're already questioning everything you do. You're already looking for that validation that you're doing a good job. So falling into that comparison of what you are doing as opposed to what somebody else is doing can really eat at your confidence, and it can really eat at your joy. And I'd have moments where I felt like today was a good day. I did great today. I did this and I did that, and I would celebrate my small wins. And then somehow I would fall into comparing myself to what somebody else did that day, or what I thought somebody else did better that day. And this constant going back and forth is exhausting. This mindset is exhausting. Comparing yourself to somebody else is exhausting. Do I really believe that we can get to a point in our lives or in our motherhood journey where we don't compare ourselves at all to anyone around us? Honestly, I don't. I just think that it's something that we need to learn how to manage and something that we need to learn how to navigate. And so one of the things that I'm quitting is falling into that comparison trap, going on social media or seeing what society is doing and comparing myself to a version of motherhood that is not my own. Because you want to know a little secret? No one has it all figured out. No two moms are the same. No two motherhood journeys are the same. You're meant to be doing things differently. You're meant to be doing things your way because that is what your kids need. And I'm meant to be doing things my way because that is what my kids need. And we often forget that what we see is not the entire reality. I saw a quote from Miss Rachel the other day that she was talking about comparison, and she said that comparison is like looking into a small window and what we're supposed to be seeing through that small window, but we forget that there is an entire house that we're not seeing. We don't see the entire image. We're seeing what people want us to see. Just keep that in mind. There's so much going on in people's lives that we don't know about. What works for one family might not work for another one. And comparing yourself to what you see through that little window, something very small, you're getting a small part of what is really going on, while you know the entire reality of what you're going through, can be exhausting. Number 3 is letting go of the illusion of control. Control is just like perfection. It's an illusion. It's something that we can't attain. There's a lot of things that are out of our control, and perfection doesn't really exist. But before I became a mom, I felt like I had more control. I had everything organized. I had everything planned. I prepared as much as I possibly could so that there were no surprises. There weren't things that caught me off guard. So, of course, when I became a mom, that changed a lot. And having a daughter or having a baby is very unpredictable. You can't really prepare. And at the end of the day, it's a little human. It's not a robot. And so things are not going to go according to plan a lot of the times. So adapting to that and just getting comfortable with losing that sense of control took me a long time. And the thing is that motherhood is unpredictable. Motherhood is messy. And there are days that are not going to go according to plan, and that is perfectly normal. For me, when my daughter was little, I was obsessed with her nap schedule. I wanted to make sure that she naps at a certain time, for a certain time, and a certain number of times a day, if that makes sense. But a lot of the times, her naps didn't go according to plan. And when that happened, I would get frustrated. I would feel like I'm failing as a mom. I would feel like, what am I doing wrong? I would forget that sometimes, it's okay when she skips a nap, or she naps a little bit later than usual, or she naps a little bit longer than usual. It's just that things aren't always going to go according to that perfect plan that you had set. I literally had written it in an Excel sheet, what time she should sleep and what time she should wake up, and we were never able to follow it. And my daughter was a good sleeper. In general, she was a good sleeper. But her naps, we had good days and we had bad days, just like anything else. When we started feeding her, or when we started solids as she turned 6 months, we also struggled with introducing new foods. And I would see other mothers that were introducing very complicated foods to their little ones, and their little ones were happily taking them. My daughter didn't accept a lot of the different tastes, a lot of the different foods. Whether it was the taste, whether it was the texture, I don't know what it was. But also another thing that I that didn't go according to the way that I had planned. And that is okay. Some days your baby's gonna refuse a nap. Some days your baby is gonna refuse food. Some days your baby's gonna wake up 3 times a night, and others they're gonna wake up 1 time. And that's okay. That's what motherhood is. Motherhood is unpredictable, and it's messy, and it's beautiful in its own way. But holding on to that illusion of being able to control everything around you as a mom will leave you exhausted. It will leave you chasing something that is unattainable. So that's number 3 for me. Quitting the need to control everything around me. Number 4 is not setting the boundaries that I needed. That's something I'm quitting. And so what I'm going to do moving forward is starting to set those healthy boundaries. As a new mom, you question yourself a lot, and you question what you do a lot, and you wonder whether you're doing the right things, whether you're holding your baby the right way, whether you're burping her the right way, whether you're feeding her the right amount of food. And so you take in a lot of the comments that people around you give you, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's strangers. You accept it because a little part of your brain is wondering, could this be true? Am I not feeding her correctly? Is me carrying her going to impact her sleep in the long term? You start questioning yourself a lot. And so sometimes we are unable to set healthy boundaries between ourselves and the people around us. But that's something I'm quitting. Moving forward, I'm going to start setting those healthy boundaries because they're important for me, for my mental well-being, for my family, for my happiness. Setting healthy boundaries doesn't necessarily have to be with conflict. It doesn't have to have a negative connotation to it. We can set healthy boundaries in a very positive manner. And so let me give you an example. Let's say someone walks into your house and tells you, well, you really shouldn't be rocking your baby to sleep because they're going to get used to it. I'm sure you've heard that as a mom. And let's say that that's something that is working for you, and it's something that for now you're comfortable with, and you know that it might lead to a little bit more dependency from your baby, but you're okay with that. So instead of shrugging it off and keeping it in the back of your head and just questioning yourself and say, well, could that be true? Should I not be rocking my baby to sleep? Maybe take that opportunity to set a healthy boundary then and there. And so if a comment like this affected you in a certain way, you can say, thank you very much for your feedback or for your thoughts. However, this is what works for me and my family at the moment. Even giving yourself that confidence to be able to vocalize it can make a very big difference. And setting boundaries is not a bad thing. It's just that we need to learn how to do it in a healthy way. And that brings us to the 5th thing that I'm quitting, and that is not prioritizing my marriage. When I became a mom, my world revolved around my daughter. And all I wanted to do was just be there for her. I didn't really have the mental capacity to be anywhere else. And everything around me, I put on the side for a while. And that included my relationship with my husband as well. I was still trying to figure out how to be a mom. He was still trying to figure out how to be a dad. We were both sort of adjusting into this new role of parenthood that we didn't really have the time to think about how to keep our relationship going. And to be honest, he tried harder than I did, but I didn't want to go out. I just wanted to be home. I just wanted to be with my baby. I felt like it wasn't the time for me to be going out. And so the second time around, I realized that it's actually very important to dedicate time to your significant other. And so this time around, I want to be more intentional with prioritizing my marriage. I realized that giving time to my husband doesn't mean that I love my kids any less. It's just that we need to continue working on our relationship and making our relationship stronger and healthier. And ultimately, when the kids grow up, it's something that they will get to see as well. They will get to see that their parents have a strong and healthy relationship. And so when we take time to nurture our relationship, we're really also taking time to nurture our family. That's not something that I think should ever be put on hold. And there are days where you might not have any time for each other, and that's okay. But there are also days where you will have a little bit of time, and squeezing in that moment to spend with your partner, to dedicate it to your relationship, to continue growing your relationship is always very important. That's something that I learned, because at the end of the day, our relationship matters too. Our marriage matters too. So that is the fifth thing that I'm quitting, and that is not prioritizing my marriage. To end this episode, I just want to remind you that motherhood is a journey of development. It's a journey of growing. It's a journey of learning. And most importantly, it's a journey of flexibility and adjusting to changes and being able to let go to things that no longer make sense to you. Over the years, I realized that I don't have to carry the weight of impossible expectations and commitments. I'm in my JOMO season, and that is the joy of missing out as opposed to the fear of missing out. I don't have to overcommit. I don't have to compare myself to other moms or what other moms are doing. I don't have to control every detail. I don't have to neglect my marriage. I can set healthy boundaries. And I want to encourage you that if any of these struggles resonate with you, or there are other struggles that you might be going through, reassess, take a step back, think about what is working, what is not, and what is something that you can let go of to help your experience and your motherhood journey feel lighter. Remember that it's okay to make changes as you go, and that is perfectly normal, and on the contrary, it is needed. So take some time to think between you and yourself of what are some things that can help you feel more at peace and can help you be more intentional with your time, with your energy, and with your efforts. So if you've enjoyed this episode today, please hit that subscribe button below, hit that like button, and share it with a mom friend who might need to hear this. If you have a story of your own to share it with us. And stay tuned for our next episode, where our guest shares a very, very touching story. You know where to find me. You can email me on contact@madinatmom.com. You can reach out to us through Instagram on @madinatmom, and you can also find us on our website, www.madinatmom.com. Until next time, take care of yourselves as fiercely as you take care of your little ones.